Hi everybody, it's Mark here. Haven't been on for another bit of a while. Couple reasons for that. One is I think something that we're all maybe going through. Last year, towards the end of last year, Neptune, after 14 years stay in its own sign of Pisces, finally moved into Aries. And Neptune was very comfortable in Pisces. And I think that's why around that period, I guess 2014 and going forward, something like that, maybe 2012, there was such a huge explosion of tarot interest and tarot YouTubes and such. And I feel like it's kind of slowed down now. Maybe people aren't as collecting as rampantly and vlogging on tarot as much these days, and I think that's maybe part of the shift. The other thing is I started writing a book. It's a book on tarot, and it's a book on this particular tarot deck, the Cosmic Tarot. This was one of the first decks that I found when I started getting really back into tarot heavily in 2017. And I was still on the RWS at that point, and just started to explore some other decks, and I found this one, and I really liked it. I loved the imagery. I stuck with it for quite a while. At the time, I had bought the 1998 version, which was the only one available. I mean, it was available readily on Amazon, but it was last printed or updated in 1998 at that point. And I really liked it, but then I found that the 1988 original vintage version available on eBay, and I preferred the imagery. It was a little more saturated. It was had darker shadows and that type of thing. So I got rid of my sort of 1998 version. But then recently I just picked up the most readily available one on Amazon. And this one is a reprinting in 2023. And I think very much like the Thoth deck reprinting, it's been upgraded or heightened or just made a little clearer with better coloring, very subtly, but very different from my vintage in some ways. And the reason I bought the newer version is because I just didn't want to. I was really starting to use the deck a lot again because I'm writing the book, and I'll tell you why I'm writing the book, and I'll go into that ultimately. But I just found that I didn't want to damage the vintage version. So you can see there's a difference in size. First of all, the vintage is smaller, and here's the newer version, and it's a little bigger. But you can see there's a stronger saturation, and things are a bit darker in this. And although I like that because of its drama, what it did though was hide some of the delicate ink work that's behind the watercolors. And I really enjoy seeing the ink work. So a friend of mine recently bought this, and he just let me borrow it for a while. And it is the 1998 version in a box set with the book in German. But this was very much what my old 1998 deck looked like, except for it was English on the bottom. So now, if you put that next to the vintage, and this is the current 2023, I think that the current version, there's very subtle differences here, but I think the current version is the nicest. It's just a little more saturated. You look at his pants there, then here, a little more colorful. The pinks are more pink, the blues are more blue, the greens are a little more green than this version. So I am happy to say that the version that anyone can get on Amazon at the moment is the best version, what I would call the Goldilocks version, the just right version. So in any case, why am I writing the book? Okay, so I'm writing the book because first of all, when I first got interested in the deck way back in about 2017 or 18 or whenever it was, the creator had also written a book, that's Norbert Losche, but it was only available in Spanish. And I was really interested to see what the creator had to say about his own deck. So I managed to get some of the Spanish book. I only got the card meetings. I didn't have any of the introductory stuff and any of the conclusion stuff, just what the card meetings were from someone who had access to the Spanish. And I painstakingly, over 8 months, translated using Google Translate from the Spanish into the English so I could see what the creator had to say. And then, just recently, my friend got this German version, and rather than translating all the card meanings all over again, I just translated the part I didn't have before, which was the introduction and some of the stuff at the back of the book. So now I feel like I have a complete translation of what the creator had in mind. And that's great, and I'm happy to have that. And it did give me some ideas of what he was doing and why he was doing it. But he also left out a lot of stuff that I feel, if you like the deck, you would want access to. And that is, it's a very Thoth-oriented deck, but without the keywords, and absolutely none of the sprinkling of thelema on the cards, which kind of mucks things up a little bit, I feel, from traditional tarot. But if you look at his imagery, you could place the Thoth keywords on the card. I mean, they fit so well. So here's the Six of Wands, and that's Jupiter in Leo, so we see the lion there, and Jupiter is on his shirt. And the keyword is victory, and you can certainly get that from what you're looking at. But even though he did put Jupiter in Libra on the card, that's the Decan information, which is very Thothy, very Golden Dawny. He doesn't do it with every card. So this is Mars in Capricorn. By Decan, then we don't see any Mars and we don't see any Capricorn. So he just sort of picks and chooses where he sort of wants to put things. That's Saturn and Taurus. We don't really see any Saturn or Taurus imagery. But on other cards, he does it. Like here, the Sun, and that's an upside down Aries on her belt. The Sun in Aries is the Decan for the Three of Wands. Now in the Thoth deck, you literally see Sun in Aries, like the actual glyphs that represent that. Here he just sort of sneaks them in representationally, like the actual Sun or a lion for Leo instead of the symbol for Leo. So you sort of have to hunt and peck for them, which is great. But he deliberately didn't want to put all the esoterica on the cards. He just wanted you to look at the card and just get a feel for what it means. And his stuff is very cinematic. Sometimes he uses actual famous people, especially in the... okay, so here's Saturn in Sagittarius. We don't see any Sagittarius. Oh, that could be the arrow of Sagittarius. And that is definitely Saturn, though. He's placed right on the card. Anyway, so he's used, like this looks like it's either Elizabeth Taylor or Gina Lollobrigida or some famous actress. And I was glad to read what he says in his book, in his introduction, which I just recently got a hold of, was because he does say that he felt that these movie stars are modern archetypes. So they weren't chosen just sort of willy-nilly. This one to me looks like it could be early Johnny Depp, but in other places I've seen it identified as a famous French actor. He was in a movie called Purple Noon, and you see the purple here. One of the most famous French actors, really handsome. Can't think of his name right now. But anyway, point being, he didn't just pick these people just to have pretty people on his cards. They actually had a meaning for his choice. So, having said all that, so he doesn't explain the esoterica. He doesn't explain who he picked and why he picked them in his book anywhere. So I felt that someone needed to do that, and I felt that someone might as well be me. There are two previous books on the deck. This one is out of print, and it's pretty good. It's interesting in that she gives example situations of how the card might mean in real life, that type of thing. She gives her own keywords to each card, which is kind of interesting. But I prefer this one, which is still available and is in print. And I like this one because she does a really great job on the majors. So, for instance, she gives, for the Empress and all the majors, there's a cosmos, generalized reading, archetypal, one for the human community, one for the individual, and then one for the card meanings. So that's very comprehensive, but neither she nor in the other book do they go into any of the decan information related to the minors. So this would be Three of Cups, so that I believe is Mercury in Cancer, and we don't see anything that explains that. So I thought I would go ahead and do that little thing, and so we'll see how it goes. It's probably going to be a long project, maybe 8 months to a year. We'll see. I've already started it. I'm happy with what I've done so far. I've started by writing on the court cards because I'm always fascinated by the court cards. Plus, that's where the famous people are for the most part. I think that's Tom Cruise as the Prince of Wands. It's a golden child vibe certainly works for him. And anyway, I won't go into all the whys and wherefores of why I started with the courts, but I find that the courts and the minors were given the most short shrift from these two books because they didn't go into any of the esoterica, and neither did he himself. So anyway, I'll come on and let you know when I finish the book. I don't know if I'm even going to attempt to get it printed, but or even print on demand, but I am happy to write it for myself. And I don't know if I said, but you saw the movie stars and whatnot, and the deck is very cinematic and reads very, very well, and sticks, like I said, to very thothy Golden Dawn imagery without the esotericism right on the cards, and without keywords to sort of make you focus maybe too much on the keyword. Okay, that's all for now. See you again.